Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Caught on the Mic. I got to tell you something. Usually I do not start episodes with a mission statement, but I have a mission today. I was just telling the guys from Hinder that my policy on this show is to look through windshields and not rear view mirrors. And by the time this episode is over, this is the mission statement part, I want all of you to go check out Hinder's new album, Back to Life, that came out May of this year. We're going to talk a little bit about the history, but we're only going to spend a minuscule of time on it. I want to talk about the here and now with my friends Cody and Marshal from Hinder. How the heck are you guys?
Doing awesome, man. How about yourself?
Good, man.
Oh, I'm great. I'm, this Midwestern summer weather where it's like Seattle on one day and then the next day I feel like I'm walking around the Mojave Desert,
Oh, yeah. Oh, we know all about that. Where are you at? Where are you located?
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. So you guys are in Oklahoma, right?
Oh, yeah. Right down the road.
So it's about the same. It's a little bipolar, And one day it's like stormy weather and it's 60 degrees, and then the next it's 98 degrees and just boiling.
Yep. That's what we're in for. It's like our high was 76 today, and then the next 2 days it's going to be 93, and I'm like, fuck that. But then again, it's like that's swimming pool weather, so
Yeah. And I guess it could be worse.
We keep having these like big cell thunderstorms, and like before all that shows up every day, it is the most humid, disgusting. It's like you go outside and you feel like you just got out of the shower.
Do you guys do the Midwestern thing where you go out and sit in the garage with the garage door open while it's the absolute worst thunderstorm outside?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's the best thing. Garage beers, dude.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there we go.
You out there sipping, waiting for neighbors to come by so you can holler at them.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I know you guys have a full plate. You've got a ton of awesome shows coming up. The Summer of 99 festival with Creed and, a new album. So how does it feel to be moving forward with this new chapter of the band?
I mean, it's been pretty amazing, honestly, especially with the reactions that we've been getting from the new material. It's always scary to put out new music. You never know, what the reaction is going to be and how people are going to feel about it. But everything's been overwhelmingly positive, and that's really exciting for us, man. I mean, that's the whole reason we write music, is to, for people to react to it in a positive way, and hopefully we can reach some more people. That's why we do it.
I love that. I don't want to recant what I just proclamated here, but let's rewind just a few moments. How did Hinder initially come together back in the early 2000s? Was there a moment where you knew that this was going to be something bigger than just a local band?
Yeah, I mean, so I met Blower in college, and then just through mutual friends, met our former singer, and then I didn't even really want to be in a band when we met. If I'm being honest, we just kept doing that whole like drunken thing at parties. Oh yeah, dude, we should get together and jam sometime,
Yep.
And we actually did it, and I think that first day I felt like oh shit, just smacked me in the face. Like this is something that could be really, really cool. And so my mindset kind of shifted, and I started taking it seriously from that day forward, kind of treated it as a business. And I was going to school for marketing. And so for me, I was, that's kind of like a dream come true, right? So yeah, it was a lot of fun to build it and grow the thing. We did a lot of really cool things that I don't think most bands would have thought of. And we did it, and it worked.
I think you and I share that similar kinship. I started doing the rock band thing in the mid 90s, and right around 2000, 2001, I really started taking it seriously. But my day job, I worked in the retail sector, and it's kind of weird, the soft marketing skills you learn whenever it comes to like trying to build a draw for your band, get people to come out to shows, when you're also like learning these other apparatuses, like you said, in college, where you're learning how to market and learning how to promote and get people interested in things. How has that influenced other avenues of your life?
I mean, it's kind of everything, you know. I mean, everything I do, that's kind of the mindset, you know. But it's funny, you know, back in the early 2000s, that was a much easier job, you know. Like the marketing part was, I don't know, it was very old school and very, for me, it seemed very straightforward and simple. And you know, especially for like the live music part, you get women, you get females in the door, you're gonna get the dudes there too, right? 'Cause
Right,
everybody
absolutely.
knows. I mean, we know that's how that works. So, you know, we figured out how to do that. I think nowadays, man, with social media, it's just so much harder to figure out and to break through because everybody's doing the same things, right? So it's harder to like I said, kind of break through the crowd.
Yeah, the back in those days, your algorithm was your bar interactions, where these days, like, you can spend hours and hours and hours and be like, how the fuck do I crack this Instagram algorithm or this TikTok algorithm so people are engaging with content? You know, I'm a podcaster and I shouldn't say that I fucking hate that, but I absolutely do, because it's sucked all the glory of the art out of things and kind of what makes some of this fun.
Yeah, and not only that, it was almost like if you worked harder than everybody else, you know, if you made all the flyers and you went and you stuck them on every windshield at every concert or every bar in town, you know, that's how you got to people. Or you could go buy a spot on the radio or whatever it was. And now, just like you said, I mean, I don't know the first fucking thing about TikTok's algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So how are you supposed to do that?
It's almost like that part of it is almost like less about the music, even more so. You know, it's like back in the day, you know, you're running around with a disc with maybe like a 5-song EP, and that was that was your thing. That was what you were marketing, and people would listen to it and they'd be like, "Man, I like this band. I want to go see them." And it was that simple. You know, now
Right.
it's, I don't know, half the social media stuff isn't even really about the music or the bands or whatever the hell's going on. It's about, you know, getting likes and getting in front of getting people's attention by other things. So
I'll make this quick, but here's a perfect example of this. You know, we're always struggling to figure out like what that content is that's going to catch, right? That algorithm thing. And so, you know, we're not very good at it. You know, everything we do kind of just goes way over the line. Shit that we think is funny is stuff
Right.
that like offends everybody else. So we fail miserably. But so we're coming up and trying to make all this content. And one day I make this like stupid little video where I like walk into a bedroom and take out like, and it's like what all husbands do as soon as their wife walks out the door or whatever. And it's pulling out a, a bottle of lotion, some tissues, and a bong, right? Yeah. And I'll be damned if that's not like our biggest post ever with like over 5 million views. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like the stupidest shit works.
you know what? It was simple and it was quick and effective. It wasn't overcomplicated. You know, it was brief.
Sure, yeah, it sure was. But now I can't figure out how to do it again.
Well,
So
you know, by the old industry standard of songwriting, you had to hit that hook of the song within the first 30 seconds to a minute within the song. So you almost have to look at content in the same regard. I think the stat that I saw was to get people to stop scrolling, you have to have a hook in your video within the first 6 to 10 seconds of somebody's scroll. That is absolutely fucking insane. But at the same time, that's why you see like these videos where somebody's like drilling into a muffler so they can build a flower garden, because you're like, the hook is like, what the fuck are they doing drilling into that muffler? You know?
but
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, and it's just fueling all of our like attention deficits. You know,
Yes.
it's exacerbating that problem.
but also, man, like that shit's frustrating for people like us because, you know, like we got into this to be musicians, to be songwriters. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe even branching out and being producers or whatever. But like, I didn't sign up to be some fucking TikTok influencer. I don't give a
Social media clown.
Yeah,
Dude.
exactly. Dance monkey. You know what I
Dude.
mean? Like, yeah.
I will tell you that is the hardest struggle I have as a podcaster, because everything in the podcast space is so social media dependent, you know, whether you're sharing clips, you're promoting an episode or something along those lines. And I don't think that music is too far away from that. But at the same time, it's like, you know, whenever I'm talking to people, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm a content creator, but I'm not a content creator, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So, well, we kind of got to the beginning, how the band was formed. As everybody knows, your song Lips of an Angel was a monster hit. For you, Cody, what was life like during that whirlwind? Did the success kind of feel like it happened overnight, or was it a slow build?
No, it happened really fast. Yeah, I mean, it was like we were out on the road in support of Get Stoned. And then we were, you know, once, I mean, that was already kind of doing its thing. And to us, that was a really, really big deal. I mean, that song got all the way up to #2 at rock radio. And that was already beyond our, you know, wildest dreams, right? And then we got on the Nickelback tour, and we were out doing arenas with them, and then Lips hit, and holy shit, man, things just changed just like that. You know, especially once that thing took over at like started crossing genres, right? Took over at top 40. Yeah, it was just, I don't know. I don't even remember half of it, if I'm being perfectly honest, because everything's just happening so fast, and a lot of, I was gonna say a lot of booze, man. I think that's kind of how we dealt with it, with being gone. You know what I mean? We were missing at that point. We'd already been out in support of a single, and you know, it was like, oh yeah, none of that matters anymore because this thing just took off, took a whole new life. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was crazy, wild times for sure, but totally worth it, obviously.
Yeah, well, I bring that up because we just got done going on a tangent about content creation, but you guys had a ginormous single drop during the era of MySpace blowing up and the initial era of social media blowing up. And that changed the industry in so many different ways, from so many different directions. You know, Marshall, you joined the band in 2015. What was it like walking into a project that had that storied history with such a big single?
It was terrifying at first, a little bit, but no, actually though, you know, I'd been really friendly with these guys leading up to that, since going all the way back to 2005 or 6. Is that when we had done a lot of touring together. I was in another band at the time, and that's how we met. We were like both baby bands. We just got record deals, and we did a lot of touring together. So I got to know these guys, and then, you know, over the course of those next few years, you know, particularly after Take It to the Limit and the pre-production process that was happening with Hinder, between that record and All American Nightmare, I spent a lot of time out on the road with them, and Cody and I had started doing some production together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was already very, very well like oriented with the band. I knew everyone. I'd been around. I'd been on multiple tours with the band, you know, just kind of recording in the back lounge. So it wasn't like having to get to know I was already kind of part of the family anyway. So that part of it was really easy. Now, taking over as a front man and being a singer, that was pretty terrifying. You know, I was convinced it was just going to be tomatoes for me. You know? And
it wasn't, no.
I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't know. But
it wasn't. It seems like it's gone pretty damn swimmingly.
Yeah, it's been I'll say the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, it's that just being able to jump into that role, especially coming from, you know, I was always kind of a singer growing up and never really a front man. And most of the time I had a guitar on, or I was like bee singing, you know, I was like the bee singer. I would do some choruses or mostly harmonies. And so stepping into that role was just like, it was fascinating, terrifying and fascinating, and also wonderful and fulfilling. And, you know, just, I don't know, just all the things that you would want out of a really strong challenge, but also just I don't know, just a wonderful experience. Cause I mean, there's something about being the front man, as long as your voice is working now,
Right,
you know,
right.
like if you've got your shit together, it's one of the coolest places to be, you know, in a band. And I'd never really fully experienced that. And I fell in love with the role despite, you know, the difficulties of being, you know, having to do that night after night. It's a pretty big learning curve, you know, to go from, you know, being a guitar player. Do you just kind of sing? You can drink and do whatever the hell you want every night, and you'll still be able to get the job done. But you know, you kind of got to walk a much more narrow line as a vocalist. So that was a hard adjustment. That's still a hard adjustment for me. You know, I still deal with that. You know, because everybody is always, you know, let's go have some beers, and you know, I'm like, I can't, not now. I'm getting
Right.
old. You know?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. We don't recover quite as well as we used to as the years go by. You know, I spent some time with your new record over the weekend. Back to Life. It really does feel like a Phoenix Rising type of album. And, you know, I know you guys have released a lot of material with Marshall at the helm. Let's talk about how your songwriting has evolved over the years, particularly from 2015 on. We're done talking about the past, fellas. So we're going to talk about the here and now. So let's talk about how your songwriting has evolved over the last 10 years, and how has your inspiration or process shifted as you've grown personally and musically?
I don't know that the process is any different. You know, we don't really have like a set process that we use. I mean, so it's always different depending on the situation. Um, you know, I think the one thing that felt a little different about this one is that we were a little less concerned with what everybody else thinks that we are as a band. You know, um, we had written a bunch of material over a pretty long period of time that we were able to go and kind of comb through and pull out and kind of rework. And I think that definitely was beneficial for us on this record. You know, there's a lot of material that had been written for a long time, and that was pretty cool. But like I said, we didn't really go into it trying to be something. Where I think, you know, certainly on the last record with The Rain, you know, we were trying to make it a little more heavy, a little more dark, and we were, I think, kind of worried about just being that rock band. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
now in this album, I think we were just worried about the songs, writing and recording the best songs that we could do. And I think it paid off, man. I'm really happy with it. I'm very, very proud of it. And you know, it seems like the reaction has been amazing. So
Yeah, I think there is a, you know, if we were going to shit all over the downfalls of social media, let's talk some positivity here. Um, you know, I think the thing is that society is more beholden to a sense of authenticity. And when you start writing music for yourself, the audience can see that. And it sounds like that's what you guys did with this record.
yeah, I think so. I mean, this record to me feels like where we are as a band right now. You know, I've told this a million times in interviews lately, but you know, we had actually written and recorded an entire record before this one. What, it was like 2021, 2020, 21, 19.
Yeah,
Shit, I don't know.
19 or 18 or something. I can't remember. It was in between.
My brain doesn't work.
When was the rain?
Well.
17? Yeah, it was probably 2020.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, we had this idea that we were going to do a record that was really similar to the first album, you know, that kind of had that vibe. And once we got it done, yeah, I mean, I guess it had that vibe, but it didn't feel like us. You know, it didn't feel like who we are now. And so it didn't feel authentic to me. You know, it just kind of felt like we were trying to be.
It felt dated, you know.
It really did.
It just made us sound not, I don't know, like we had not progressed as a band. So, or at least with the sound starting from when I kind of joined the band, it seemed like a regression instead of a, you know, moving forward. So we shelved it.
Stuck it on the hard drive where it belongs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, did you retool any of that material for this new album?
Actually, I don't think we did.
I don't think we retooled any song off that particular record. And I mean, it was like a 10 to 12 song record. And I think every single song is just still on the shelf.
Yeah. There were a couple songs that we had written, at least a couple. I'd have to think about it, but songs that we had written for a side project that we were doing back in the day, before Marshall ruined it.
So it's gonna, yeah, I'm never gonna let that go.
That Marshall from that band is a total asshole.
He swears I quit Dangerous Cities, but I never did. We just had COVID, you know, and just like we got busy, and I didn't really quit. I feel like you're like,
he quit. He left me.
You're like, he left me. You're like Eddie Van Halen to me. Like calling up Sammy Hagar, like, why'd you quit? Be like, motherfucker, I didn't quit.
Well, anyway, it was, you know, that project was kind of more like an alternative project. And so, you know, we pulled some songs from that, you know, they were kind of alternative sounding, and turned them back into rock songs, into Hinder songs. And that was a challenging thing. But it was really cool and rewarding at the same time.
You know, that cookie jar still got a lot of cookies in it too, man. There's
Lots of songs.
There's some other songs to be pulled out of all that stuff we did when we were doing the Dangerous Hippies bit, because we didn't release like a lot of it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Are you guys both the type that are just always writing?
Not as much as we used to.
Right.
We used to. I mean, a few years ago, we were here every day, you know, writing and recording. And yeah, I mean, now I think, especially now through, you know, the album cycle, since that started, you know, we just really haven't had time. You know, we're playing shows, like, if we're not actually on a tour, we're playing shows every single weekend. So yeah, it's been very, very busy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It could, like, you know, we're not as aggressive. Like Cody said, when back in the day when we were out, we were always like riding on the bus and everything. And now everybody's like, man, I just want to make it through the day. You know, I don't want to have extra stuff to do or put any extra pressure, because we're just older and more tired, really, is the honest answer. Is like when we were, you know, when he and I first started producing together, we could easily do like 14 to 16 hour days in the studio, and we could turn around and do it again and again and again. And now it's just really hard to do that. You know, we're like, we can get a good 6 hours of work in or something, or 8 hours of work. But man, just doing those grinds to just constantly be cranking on material is, I think it becomes less productive, because we don't enjoy that kind of like workload, I guess, anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just talking just a couple of weeks ago with Nick Hexum from 311, and we were talking about combating writer's block sometimes, and like overthinking the creative process, and how sometimes you could overthink it and overwork it to the point where you just render your creativity completely obsolete. That sometimes the best thing you can do is just walk away from it for a while. And like, what's a good example of a time where you guys have had to do that? Like, walk away from something and then come back to it later.
Well, I think we kind of did that on, like, right before this record. Like we didn't know what we were doing. We were kind of aimless. And when we got around to the idea, like, okay, we have to do another record, like, or we want to do another record, but we also need to, you know, it's time. It's been a while. And so it was challenging, like, at first, because we were like, what are we going to write about? And that's kind of how Bring Me Back to Life came about. We kickstarted it with that song. We were sitting around one day, like, what are we going to say that's going to mean something to anyone? And So we just kind of decided to write a song about the lack of inspiration and just wanting to get it back. It's just wishing somebody could, make you feel young, make you want to fight, make you want to be sad, make you want to be happy, just make you feel something, and
Right.
that song kind of kickstarted it. And I don't know, something about that song just invigorated the writing process and was really inspiring. And so it kind of gave us the kick that we needed to get the ball rolling.
It was kind of a, oh shit, we actually remember how to do this. We actually can write songs and record them. Yeah, so it was a good moment for sure. It was exciting.
That's amazing.
To answer your question more specifically, though, I think like these days, I just kind of wait for a natural inspiration.
Yeah.
It's like if that happens in between record cycles, I don't want to do it. I'm making notes in my phone. I'll write out some lyrics if I get inspired, and then I'll put it in voice memo. And Cody does that too. And then we'll come back. We can always be like, well, I have this idea, or go digging through some voice memos. And so inspiration isn't lost, but it's actually like authentic instead of just, saying, hey, let's sit down and write a bunch of songs.
Right.
It's coming from like an inspirational moment in your life, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So have you found as you've gotten older and gained more experience in this space, the subject matter of what you write about, have you felt that it's evolved as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think so for sure, because we write about, tougher, darker concepts in a lot of the songs, like more than instead of just standard love loss or, relationship songs or, problems with drinking and things like that. We've kind of expanded to some of the darker areas on this record, I think, about life and just getting older and, just the aches and pains of growing.
Well, I think, I've noticed like a lot of bands as they get older, a lot of the songs seem to be those like, you can't break me, you can't hold me down, right? Like I think they just kind of they don't know what to do anymore, and so it becomes that. You know what I mean?
Like rise up and just this kind of motivational, like, yeah, I will not falter.
Yeah, playing into the cliche almost.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that we don't want to fall into. We want to make sure that when we're writing songs that they're things that people can relate to, and that we're hoping that we can, somebody will turn on our songs, and if they're having a really shitty day or they're going through a breakup or they're just whatever it may be, that it'll actually like make an impact with people and kind of turn things around for them. I mean, that's everything.
I love that. So you guys have played with a myriad of bands, like so many to list, over 100 dates last year alone. Do you have some specific recent tour memories that you'll cherish for the rest of your life? Like, give us a story.
Vegas, dude. We just played Fremont Street about 3 weeks ago at the very end, and it was packed, and it was one of the loudest shows in my life. Like, the crowd was so loud, it was overpowering my ears through my microphone and drowning me out of my own microphone. And it was just one of the neatest experiences, like with the digital light show going on top, and they were projecting it they were videoing the show and projecting it onto that screen.
Love it.
And like I said, just front to back, dude, like it was like New Year's or some shit in Fremont Street. And that was just one of the coolest shows that I can remember in recent times. Like, just like, wow, what a neat thing to do. I never thought I would be here.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, for me, it's not a show, a recent show. It's been every show that we've done, since we started this cycle. We've just seen this like massive uptick, and people have started to really show up and be excited. And for me, man, I mean, that is super, super exciting, especially this far into the game. As long as we've been doing this, it's just like a whole new like rebirth of the band. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really wonderful to have 3 or 4 new songs in the set, and be able to see multiple people singing all the words to them, I mean, that's a special feeling and that's something we haven't seen in a while, a good while, It's like even some of the records we have, when we're playing singles, it's like you can tell people don't really know them that well, But on this record, I feel like it's gotten a lot more attention and people are actually listening more, and so they seem to really know and they're prepared to sing along, and I love that. Yep.
Yeah, and that's something, again, kind of treading back on something I said earlier. That's something I noticed when I listened to this album over the weekend is, from your guys' vantage point, does it really feel like a big reset button has been pressed, and that with Back to Life, you're introducing the world to Hinder for the first time all over again?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, to me, it really does.
It feels like a reawakening to me too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since we put out new music. And so I think things were just kind of feeling stale and we didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? So now that it seems like the fan base is like re-energized, it's really got us going and kind of looking forward to the future a little more than I thought we were expecting.
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
It was like, I feel like right before this record, it was kind of like, come on, let's get one. We got one more in us, And now that we did that one, it's kind of like, man, we could do this again and again in different ways. I mean, it's like we do have a lot of inspiration left. I got a lot of, music left in me to say some things with, but there's just periods in your life where that goes away, or you're concerned with other things, like relationships, and you're just not even thinking about music. And so everything kind of gets a little stale, but then you just use all that, turmoil and kind of dump it back in the next time around. And then it's material. Sometimes you got a little before you can find authentic material again,
So basically, long story short, now we're happy. So now the next one's going to suck.
Yeah.
Love it. So you guys have some fantastic shows on the books for the remainder of 2025. Is there a specific festival or show that you're looking forward to? Yeah, I'm going to ask you to pick who your favorite child is. Is there a specific show or festival that you guys are more excited about than any other?
I don't think so. I mean, we're doing Sturgis. Sturgis is always cool. But no, not really for me, man. It's we have so many shows.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're just going so well that I'm just looking forward to getting back out on a tour. So
let me rephrase that in a more PC and politically PR friendly way. Is there a band you haven't played with yet that you're excited to play with this year?
And I don't think that we haven't played with, but there are a handful of bands that are kind of just getting back together for one or two shows,
right?
And that's pretty cool. We're playing with Rev Theory.
Oh, that's really cool.
They're some of our really good friends that we haven't played with in forever, so that's going to be really exciting.
Oh, speaking of, I'll just do a past one. So like we did the Creed cruise, right? And Default was a last minute add-on. And I was just blown away by Default. They were just incredible to watch perform. Yeah. I mean, the guitar sounded great. The band's tight. The singer's incredible. I mean, that was a special treat for me. Like, I would love to play more shows with those guys because they inspire,
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. I love that. I love that whole iron sharpens iron philosophy whenever you're playing with other good bands, and it kind of forces you to bring your A game. Like, fuck, I gotta follow that shit. Fuck.
Yeah,
exactly. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, sometimes I think about my time singing in rock bands, and I was like, man, maybe I would have been better suited as a professional athlete that markets shit than I was a musician, because I was always that way. I was like, nope, there's no way you're gonna blow me off the stage tonight. Nope. I love that.
The truth is, it's really out of your control. So,
right.
For me, what happens is I watch those bands and I'm like, fuck. And then I go drink more, and then the show suffers probably.
I had to get a little bit more drunk just so I could convince myself.
Oh,
I'm almost that good. Maybe, I don't know.
I know. We got so bad. My last band that I was in, we got so bad for a while. I think we all had little personal flasks on us for a point in time where it's like, we can't get up on stage without tying on a few. But
just suffering from like critical self-doubt.
yes. yes. The worst possible case of imposter syndrome ever. It's like, everybody's gonna find out we suck.
Dude, you know what's funny is like I feel like 99% of people that you talk to though suffer from the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if they're good. I mean, like, there's these people that seemingly don't realize that they're not that great, and they just have like gobs of confidence. And while that's envious, like it's really awesome that like most of the people that are like extremely talented don't feel that way about themselves. They're very like kind of, insecure people as well. And so it's kind of nice to when you get to talking to somebody else that you admire and they suffer from that too. It just makes you feel like, okay, we're going to be all right.
It's funny. I've been doing this podcast for 5 years now, and I've had, music is just one of the many topics that I cover on the show. I have a lot of MMA fighters on my show as well, and I do commentary for pay-per-view commentary for a regional MMA organization, and every single fighter I talk to is like talking to another musician because of that exact same thing. They know that their biggest opponent isn't the guy that's across from them. It's them. It's their Frankie fear, and it's them. If they can overcome themselves, then they can overcome anything.
That little voice in the back of your head that won't shut up.
Yes.
Constantly going like, man, you're not good enough.
And that fucking bastard's loud.
Yeah. He's the most obnoxious guy at the party, dude.
Fucking hate that guy.
Yeah. He's the guy that drank all of your garage beers before you even finished your second one.
Absolutely. Fuck that guy.
Wow, I can drink all the beers in the world, and sometimes that guy still won't go away.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Exactly. So when fans look back at Hinder's legacy years from now, what do you guys hope that they will remember about this era of the band?
I mean, I think just all we can hope is that they listen back and just think that the songs are great, like that they think that we have written some songs that really have resonated with them and with other people, and songs that have made a difference for people. I mean, for me, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, that's me too, man. Just like all I've ever really wanted was to like write songs and then have people like them. Really, that's the entire motivation. Right, to me is like the challenge of like, can I write something that other people just like adore? Like I adore other people's music, So that's really that. And I hope somebody goes like, oh yeah, like that. Oh, that second guy, he had a couple good songs, like.
You know what though? I think
just give me one. Just give me.
You know what though? I think anybody kind of hopes for that, and a lot of that comes from creating a culture around what it is that you care about, making people invest in you by investing in them. So I mean, you kind of manifest that success in different ways for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give your pitch for why people should listen to this brand new Hinder album.
Go check it out. It's songs from the heart. They're songs that we thought about lyrically and emotionally, and we put a lot of time and development into, to get them the way that we wanted them, and we're proud of it. And we just would like people to go give it a listen, man.
I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest too, I've said this a million times, but I really truly believe that this album from front to back is the strongest thing we've ever done in the history of the band from back in 2001 until now. I think that from start to finish, from a songwriting standpoint, from a production standpoint, I just think it's the best thing we've ever done. You can start this album and never skip a song and be happy. And that's, I mean, at least in my opinion, and that's pretty rare. So, you know, hopefully other people will check it out and feel the same way.
Well, I tell you what, to my listeners or viewers, however you are consuming this episode, I am going to endorse this album wholeheartedly. It is fantastic, front to back. You know, and I am not being paid to say this. I'm not being bribed to say this. I sincerely enjoyed it, and I've really been enjoying this conversation with both you gentlemen. So I'm gonna throw you my closing question. I ask every single person that does my show, and you guys can answer it one at a time. But given your experience, what's your advice for making the world a better place tomorrow than what it is today?
I think that's pretty simple. Just don't be a dick. You know, like everybody's gotten so fucking selfish where they only care about themselves. So like take other people's feelings into consideration, you know, when you're doing this thing called life. You know, think about your actions or the things that you support. Think about if you were in other people's shoes, how those things would make you feel, and act accordingly. That's my spiel.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say any better than that. I would just say very simply kindness. And, you know, if somebody needs help, help them. You know, that's really, there's really nothing else in life. If you do that, everything else just seems to work.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Marshall, Cody, I have really enjoyed this conversation with the two of you. Let my viewers and listeners know where they can find your new music and find you online.
We're pretty simple. Hindermusic.com is our website. All of our socials are Hinder Music. So you can find the new album everywhere you listen to music. So Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, Tidal, Deezer, you name it. It's there. So
awesome. Well, guys, I am completely sincere here. I have really enjoyed hanging out, and I think we all need to get together in person in the real world and enjoy some garage beers sometime.
Let's do it, dude.
Anytime, dude. Anytime. We'd love it.
Thank you guys so much for doing the show. The world's a much better place with you in it.
Likewise,
buddy. Thank you so much.